AI is not coming for your UX job, but it is here to redefine it. But don't panic, in this video I will explain to you the core principles of the UX design profession that are immune to automation. You will also learn what makes the UX design so invaluable for businesses and how can you prepare for the future that is coming. And if you're new to this channel, my name is Ines. I'm a principal product designer with 16 years of experience, and on this channel I teach all things around UX design. So if you are interested in this career, subscribe. As I told you already, I have been working as a UX designer for 16 years now. And of course, this career changed so much during this time that some people are actually pointing me out that 16 years ago I could not be working as a UX designer. And they are right. 16 years ago I was working as a web designer. And literally the whole scope of my job was to create one page for one device in one breakpoint. And it's not like there were other proper user experience designers and I was doing some bullshit jobs. No, actually, that was the job in itself. And everybody who was calling themselves web designers, digital designers, human-computer interaction designers, software designers, they were doing more or less the same job. That is because the software was immature itself. And we had only one platform, that is a desktop platform, and we only had more or less one size of a screen. And at some point there were no breakpoints even, they came in later, and then I had to design a desktop app with some breakpoints, then a desktop app and a mobile app, and so on and so on. Then we had to design systems, then we had to learn how to design with AI, and so on and so on. So of course the job is changing, and I'm changing with this job. I'm learning the new tools and the new approaches, and because I'm here in this profession for so long, I've noticed that there are some parts of the job that are staying intact. They are staying immune to the changes of the tools, of the approaches, of the scope that we're currently having. And of course, people who have just joined the UX design and they see the rise of AI, they are worried that AI is gonna take this job altogether. But I'm here to tell you that I don't believe that is going to happen. The job is going to change, and we're going to talk about how it is gonna possibly change, maybe in this video, maybe in some other videos. But in this particular point in time, I wanted to discuss what is going to stay. And if you will like the parts that are going to stay with you, then you will be satisfied with this career a bit more going forward and seeing how it changes. So what is going to stay intact? Let's discuss it. I believe that there are 6 things that are there with me throughout this profession, despite the tools change and everything change, and even the change between agencies and in-house that I did in 2019. The first thing that did not change is assessing if the problem worth solving, because this is something I deal a lot with. Even in my agency times, but also in the in-house times, there is always someone who has an idea, and maybe this idea will now be generated with AI, or they came with this idea while working with a consultancy firm, or this is a brilliant idea of a CEO or something like that. But even though somebody might bring you this idea, it does not mean that you have to jump in and solve it and you have to provide some software solution to it. There are multiple examples I could name from my own career. For instance, once I was working in an agency who was serving startups in the Silicon Valley, and of course startups in the Silicon Valley, they always have some great interesting ideas, and we sometimes had to do an assessment of an idea and then create slides for a presentation or something like that. And in some instances, we were really assessing the market and assessing the possibility and was coming to a conclusion that it is not worth it, then the market is too small, or the idea is too incremental, or something of that sort. And that happens as well with me in my in-house job right now as a principal product designer, because we have multiple ideas floating around us all the time, and somebody just need to think if the idea is making sense. And although you can assess the ideas with AI, ChatGPT is doing a great job in assessing you pros and cons, you just still need to think about the resources that you have, about the people that you have on the team, and how can you overall create a storytelling and what narrative can you give them to explain to them why this idea might not make sense or why you shall postpone that. And that brings us to the second point that is not going to change in UX design anytime soon, is the storytelling and the stakeholder management and overall the team communication. Because even if we have the best idea at hand and we are 100% sure that we need to solve this, the resources are always limited, and there are people on the team that have different goals and different agendas, and this thing about politics that happens in big tech companies, but also sometimes in small teams as well, because people, they want their ideas to be solved, their pitches to be heard. And you have to really be skillful in this communication, in the stakeholder management, in the presentation. And I think actually designers are possessing a very unique skill, which is visual storytelling. And if you've been ever pitching your ideas within a team, you sometimes might notice that your idea might just stand out because you wrapped it up in something that is easy to read. I'm not even saying about the beautiful slides and presentations, but just about the storytelling, about the logic of how you lay down your arguments. This is something that I use all the time. And yes, in some instances, ChatGPT can help you with that, but you have to still understand the environment on your team and to whom to pitch what in what words, so to say. So you have to be really skillful and strategic, and you have to read the room, and AI just cannot do that at the moment. And I don't think it is going to change even if we will get the most advanced AI. We will all get it simultaneously, and then we will have to pitch our ideas and we will have to fight for the limited resources anyways. So I believe this part is definitely not going away. The third part of the job that is staying with us, I think for a time being, is understanding users. And here people might argue with me, and if you want to argue on this point, please go to the comments and let's continue the discussion there. But I believe that we are at the moment, we are selling products and services to people. And until that changes and until robots are going to buy stuff from the market, we are going to be listening the market and the signals a bit more carefully and with this human perspective as well. Because humans, they are very complex creatures, and you probably know that if you did user interviews already. So people might be saying you some things that are not actually true, or it might not be what they need. And in many instances, people actually don't know what they need at all. And probably you've heard this quote from Steve Jobs that people just don't know what they want. I place in front of them what they want and they will immediately recognize that. This was a different quote, I guess, but you get the idea. And this is so true in so many instances, and you always have to have this judgment, and you will always have to read those non-verbal signals of your users to understand if they really need this feature, if they are really going to use it. And in this part, of course, ChatGPT speeds up the things, and you can crunch the data faster, and you can get the insights from really long surveys in just a minute instead of days or weeks. But still, sometimes you need to talk with people one-to-one, and this is where you get the access to those non-verbal signals that you will anyway have to read. And I think maybe for the time being, we are going to still do this part. And maybe we are not going to have UX researchers as a separate job title, and maybe we will all be doing user research, including PMs or UX designers, depending on the team size. But still, somebody has to do this job, and this is something you can double down and you can skill yourself, because I believe that it is going to stay in place a bit longer. By the way, if you like this video and you want to receive more videos like that, then give me thumbs up and hit the subscribe button down below. It's important for me and for YouTube algorithms to start recommending you similar videos. And we're moving on. And let's talk about the point number 4, that is strategic design or strategic vision. I think, or I hope that most of you would agree that it is a very important part of a UX design role to understand where your product is evolving, where are you going, where is your company going. And although you can 100% ask ChatGPT to lay you down a presentation with some ideas about the strategy and arguments and to give you some insights on the market and to understand where your competitors are going, and all of that you can already do today. However, out of my experience, a strategy is not something static. It changes all the time. I mean, maybe the overall point where you're going to go is staying more or less the same, but your storytelling about the journey there is something that is changing constantly. And you have to also read the room, and you have to understand the signals that are coming to you. And you will also have to balance between the requirements and the resource limitations and the conflicting opinion to somehow still steer your product towards the vision and towards the goal that you have for yourself. And because it is so dynamic and there are so many inputs that could influence your decision about how you go with this strategy and if you change it or if it stays the same, again, I think AI is not going to influence that, because it basically has to replace us at our work in the room with these particular people. And this is actually something that I believe being of an advantage of us physical human beings, because we can react fast, we can react spontaneously, and we can interact real time with the events and people around us. So until AI can be fully present in all of the chats and all of the conversations, and it can go with us on a lunch break and to hear some ideas that people are having, I don't think it is going to effectively execute on the strategy. It could give you some ideas on how can you tell the story about your strategy or where this strategy should overall be pointing, but the execution and the steering wheel is still going to be in our hands. And the last point I wanted to discuss that I'm dealing a lot as my day-to-day job is maintaining legacy systems. And the bigger are the systems that we are dealing with, the bigger and the heavier is this part. Because the software systems, they are aging fast, the technologies are aging, the visual style is aging, and we will have to deal with that somehow. And in many instances, there are just no resources to rehaul the product from the ground up. And we will always have to build on whatever we have already, or most of the time we will be building on the foundation. And well, in my opinion, the modern AI systems and the modern LLMs and the generative AIs, they are dealing quite badly with the existing systems, because there are integrations that they need to mine, there are bigger pictures that they need to see, and sometimes it's just too hard, it's just too much work to explain to them every detail of the legacy that you are dealing with. I think maybe this part is going to go, maybe not now, and in the near future I don't see how it is going, but if I could make a wish, I would actually wish for this part to go, because I am dealing also with the systems that are outdated, and all the time there are some trade-offs that you will have to do in your decisions in order to kind of again find this balance between the strategy that you have, the resource limitations, and the legacy that you are dealing with. And maybe if this part will go and AI could understand better the whole ecosystem environment and maybe can rehaul it on a whim, that would make my work a bit more enjoyable. But I think whether we like it or not, this part are going to stay with us at least for some time. And if you are actually looking for a niche in UX design where you can profit and where you can build your expertise, then this is actually one of the niches that you can choose, because it's not like many people want to deal with existing design systems and with existing complex products. It's way more exciting to build the products from the ground up, and this is what many people want to do. However, AI is getting increasingly better in building products from the 0 to 1, and I think maybe this part of the job is at risk. And if I would make a bet for the next 3-5 years in my career, I would better stay in a legacy product with a lot of alignments, with a lot of moving parts that is very hard to navigate, instead of going to a place where there are things that I need to build from 0 to 1, because there I could definitely see how can I delegate this work to the next generation AI model. So this is my take on the design skills that are going to be future-proofed. And you might notice that there is a common motive in all those skills. The thing is that our resources are limited, and we always have to find compromises. Those are the compromises with people, with systems, with the ideas, with the environment, with users. And I think currently all AI models, they are just not getting the full context. And sometimes I believe that explaining the context is just taking too much time, and it's way easier for me to take a decision on the context where I see it, instead of asking ChatGPT to provide me ideas. I might then ask a model to verify this idea against this idea and to give me arguments and to strengthen my presentation and so on and so on. But eventually I am the person who is making a decision about what do I present to this particular person, how do I interpret the research results from these particular users. And this is the essence of the job that frankly is staying the same through all 16 years that I'm working as a UX designer. And yeah, I believe it is going to stay the same in the next 16 years. Okay, maybe the legacy part is going to go away in 5 years, I could make a bet, but actually I also don't believe that it's going to be that fast, because digital systems are growing, software is getting more and more complex, there are lots of frameworks that are contradictory, and sometimes this part of the interface is done on the outdated framework, and there is no one on the team who is going to tackle this, who wants to work on this part, and that's why this part is going to stay the same for the time being, although the other parts of the software is going to be improved. But let's see how it is going to develop. And anyway, talking about myself, I actually don't find the execution part as the most interesting part in UX design. I will not probably regret that it will be going away. 16 years ago, I had to design all the buttons and all the components in the unique instances. I could not create a component and I could not make it so that I change something in the component and it changes everywhere. And I don't miss this part, to be honest. I'm happy it went away. I look back and I think that those were the ancient times, and I would never do this myself right now. I embrace the components, I embrace the efficiency, and AI, in my opinion, brings this efficiency to my work again, just on the different level. But overall, if the execution part will go away completely, I will not regret it. Probably I will look back at this time where I am designing all the components, I assign the properties, I change the components in the design library also as something unnecessary, as something ancient, and it will be clear for me that the job shall not be run this way. Of course, all the changes are making us nervous, and I am sometimes also nervous about the change, and I am worried if I can keep up with all the tools that are popping up all the time. I actually made a video recently about my growing frustration with the lots of tools that are there on the market that I have to constantly test, and I have to find the time at my own free time to actually play around with them, because my company is not fast enough to implement those tools in our day-to-day practice. But in my opinion, it is just an interim stage. In 3-4 years, we're going to have the established landscape of the tools that everybody is using, like Figma, for example, like Framer, and we are going to be just accustomed to use those tools, and we are going to be in the comfort zone again until something else will disrupt this comfort zone and the profession will change again. So hopefully my take on the immune parts of the UX design, it is something that is helpful for you. If you have a different opinion or you have something to add to this, then please go to the comments and let's continue the conversation there. And if you liked this video and you want to receive more videos like that, then hit the subscribe button down below and click the bell. This way you will get a notification when a new video comes out. And I see you next time.